It is Friday, May 24th, and the Splash Zone is back in your life. I'm Matt Modi, and I'm going to have some bangers for you guys for tomorrow's NBA game, Game 3 between the Pacers and the Celtics. So I'm recording this on Friday, just getting this out early for you guys for tomorrow's game. Of course, before I can get into those bangers, we got to do a recap from the last time you saw me. So I don't have a recap from Friday's game between the T-Wolves and the Mavericks. I wanted to say the Nuggets. That series is over with because I'm recording this before that game has finished. But I do have a Thursday recap for you guys, which was awesome. Our second straight day of sweeping the slate. We went 2-0 on both of our plays on Thursday, up 2 units. Incredible. Thank you to the Celtics for covering 8.5. Thank you for Jaylen Brown for going off from a points perspective, but going under 3.5 assists because that's what we had him. 2-0 on Thursday, up 2 units. That now makes it a 5-0 run that we are on. We're 5-0 in our last 5 plays, 3-0 Wednesday, 2-0 on Thursday, plus 5 units in the last 2 days. Hopefully Friday's picks go well. Hopefully these plays for tomorrow go well. On the entire season, we are up about 113 units, which is incredible. On the playoffs specifically, we're up a little bit over 5.5 units, which is fine. The playoffs had been I'm not going to say rough. They had been hit or miss, right? Whenever it felt like we were going to go on a hot streak, we would have a bad couple days. Whenever we would have a bad couple days, we would go on a hot streak. So hopefully the last 2 days being in the green, and not only being in the green, but literally going 5-0, hopefully that's catapulting us to just a continued hot streak as opposed to this up and down nature that the playoffs have been. But hey, up 5.5 units, a little bit over that. For the playoffs, I'm not going to complain about that. It just hadn't quite been as good as the regular season. So if you are new to my channel, would appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button. You're going to want these NBA bangers throughout the rest of the playoffs, and then with MLB stuff as well, hit that subscribe button. And then for this specific video, like, comment, all that stuff helps me out a ton. And then the last thing I'll mention before I get into the bangers is that I do have a dub club where I send plays out. $5 a month gets everything sent to your phone. It is the same exact plays on the dub club that you see on YouTube and on Twitter. I just send them out early. So a lot of times by the time I record a YouTube video and then edit it and then post it, the odds are different. So my way to combat that was to come out with the dub club where I send plays out immediately as soon as I decide what a play is. So if you're interested, check that out. If not, no harm, no foul. Now we can get into the bangers. And one thing that I do want to preface is that I'm only going to have one play for this video, which I know is kind of boring, but honestly, I don't know if Tyrese Halliburton is going to play or not, and I really don't feel comfortable taking any Pacers player props if we don't know if Halliburton is playing, and I don't feel comfortable taking any mainline plays as well. So I'm sitting out most of the options here. I do have a play that I already locked in that I do like. I just wanted to preface it saying it's going to be a little bit of a boring video with just one play, but I'd rather have a play that I'm confident in than trying to force something without all of the information. So with that in mind, the play that we have is Jason Tatum over 29.5 points, minus 106 odds at FanDuel. I'm going to mention it at the end, a couple honorable mentions depending on Halliburton and his status. So I will give out honorable mentions, then we'll decide whether those are our official plays or not, depending on Halliburton's status. As for this Jason Tatum one, absolutely love this play. Very comfortable with this play, whether Halliburton plays, whether Halliburton doesn't play, whatever happens, even if this turns into a Celtics 30-point blowout, I really, really do like this Jason Tatum play. It's just a really good fade of recent results. Jason Tatum had the worst first half he's ever played basically in his entire career in the first half of Game 2, and then he really came alive in the second half. Now, in Game 1, he was okay. He wasn't great. He wasn't horrible. He really came alive in overtime of Game 1. He scored 10 points in OT, giving him 36 points for the game. You thought maybe that would carry over into Game 2. It did not. He really, really struggled in the first half of Game 2. He only scored 4 points. He was 2 of 8 from the field. He was 0 of 2 from deep. He was -9 in terms of a plus-minus. Just a really, really bad half from Tatum. Props to him. He turned it around, came alive in the second half, scoring 19 points. He was 7 of 12 shooting in the second half, despite the fact that he still only went 1 of 5 from deep. So that means he was 6 of 7 from 2-point range in the second half. Now, I don't know what's going on with his three-pointer. He's only made 3 or more threes literally in 1 of 12 playoff games, so I'm not going to sit here and say that we can rely on him having a good shooting game from deep. The good news is he has shown the ability to score even without getting going from deep. So in the off chance he finally has a good shooting game in Game 3, that would just bode well for us. And then in general, this is a really good spot and a really good matchup for Jason Tatum to score a bunch of points. If you include games 1 and 2 of the playoffs, Jason Tatum has played the Pacers 6 times this season. The only time in which he did not score 30 points, that was game 2. Literally, he was 5 for 5 in terms of scoring 30 points heading in to game 2. So I do think that we're getting a nice fade of recent results here. I do think that he was due just for some natural regression heading into game 2, so it makes sense that he struggled. Now, I wasn't going to predict that. I'm not going to pretend that I was on that. It just makes sense knowing what we know now. Granted, sure, 2 of the games in the regular season that he went over 29 and a half points, I should say, he scored exactly 30 points. That's a hook in a positive way. Still would have cashed the over. And I also like this play when you consider the fact that Jaylen Brown blew up for 40 plus points in game 2. Now, I did say beforehand, I thought this was going to be a big series for Jaylen Brown. So I was not surprised to see him score 40 points. I didn't predict it. I was on his under assist instead, but it makes sense. Now, after him scoring 40 plus points, it only makes sense for that to regress a little bit and then for some positive regression in terms of Jason Tatum. And if you just look at the matchup, high usage players, guards, wings, forwards, whatever, high usage players have been a play for their point prop against the Pacers the entire regular season, and that has continued in the playoffs as well. In the Bucks series, in the first round, Damian Lillard, when he was healthy, he blew up in the first 2 games of the series. Then he got hurt, wasn't the same. Guess what? Chris Middleton blew up when Damian Lillard was hurt. In the second round of the playoffs, when the Knicks actually had a healthy roster, it was Jalen Brunson who blew up in the playoffs. And then in game 1 of this series, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown in game 1. Game 2 was just Jaylen Brown. So I love this as a recent results, betting on Jason Tatum to have a good game in game 3. Again, 6 games against the Pacers this season, including the 2 playoff games. He scored 30 points in 5 of those 6 games, with game 2 being literally the only game in which he did not. And we've seen Jason Tatum have slumps in the playoffs before. Last year, he was bad most of the Sixers series, came alive in the fourth quarter specifically of game 6, came alive with 50 points in game 7. He can go on these scoring barrages, and even though his jumpers failed him, we can't rely on that. And the off chance he has a good shooting game, that's just going to help us. But he showed in the second half of last game, as I mentioned, he scored 16 points in the second half that were not on 3-pointers, right? He only had 1 3-pointer to give him his 19 points, 16 of which were not from the 3-pointer. So I do really, really like Jason Tatum to have a good game in game 3. And then in terms of honorable mentions, I'm really going to look at TJ McConnell props as soon as odds are opened up. Now, if Tyrese Halliburton is playing versus not playing, I still am probably going to be looking at TJ McConnell. Now, I'm not saying to blindly lock it in as soon as the odds are released, and definitely don't lock anything in until you have news on Halliburton, but that is where I'm going to look. If Halliburton is out, I'm probably going to look at TJ McConnell points, rebounds, assists, just betting that he's going to play more minutes, betting that he's going to have a higher usage rate for scoring, higher assist rate for passing, and maybe if he gets 3 rebounds, that would be a benefit for us. If Halliburton is in, I probably would just pivot to just points plus 6 assists, but I just need to see what the odds look like. And that's probably my favorite look if Halliburton is in or out, is just looking at TJ McConnell. So that would be my honorable mention there, depending on Halliburton playing. My official play is Jason Tatum over 29.5 points. And that's all we got for this video. I know it's boring just having one pick, but I didn't want to just force something without having a ton of information for the sake of forcing it. And I'm unfortunately busy all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Well, not that that matters for this game on Saturday, but I'm not going to be able to come out with a video on Saturday. So I had to get this out early for you guys, posting this on Friday night for you guys. I appreciate everybody who has tuned in, has been continuing to tune into my channel. Remember to like the video, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Check out the Dub Club if you're interested. Appreciate everybody for watching once again, and have a good one.